Hey you guys, what's up? Charlie here. Welcome back to Conquering Kerbal Space Program. I thought this was kind of interesting. This is debris from Minmus Science 1, our lander that ended up in Minmus. And it has been in an orbit around this, kind of a really big eccentric orbit around Kerbin a bit. And I found this interesting. On its way back, this is just debris. It's floating around in space. On its way back, it's actually going to have a moon encounter. It's going to get within 1.6 million meters of the moon. Thought that was kind of interesting. I wonder if I just leave this debris around, I wonder where it ends up, Does it end up crashing into the moon, or... I don't know, I'm going to leave it alone and just let it... Just kind of keep an eye on that, because I think that's kind of interesting how it's going to go kind of, in Minmus' sphere of influence eventually too, probably, because it's kind of close to the line here still. And it's just probably going to go back and forth here. So I wonder how its orbit is going to get changed by the moon. Might be interesting to see. Let's go ahead and check out, by the way, Minmus Science 1. It is our science vessel, which is kind of chilling here right on, on Minmus. Not the debris, though. We want to see... And a lot of people would delete these debris to get them out of the way. I am going to do that eventually. I'm just not really into doing it right away. So this is the probe. This is why we do it, because we have to search through the debris to get through the ship we want. Minmus Science 1 ship. Let's check that out. All right, here's Minmus Science 1. It's our nice little science facility here on the surface of Minmus. This was a fairly successful mission overall, and they've been here researching for quite some time, and we see that they have just 10 science available here. They're able to do 10 science per day, which is pretty remarkable. And while they're going and doing all this science, we can proceed with our overall mission and kind of continue on this path to put a base on every planet. But I do want to eventually put a base here on Minmus. The problem is, I'm not sure what sorts of resources are available in this area. And so in order to do that, I need to get a resource scanner out this way to scan the surface to see if there are any ores or metals or substrates, which is important for our whole 100% efficiency goal. So these guys are just going to chill here and take the science. I'm actually going to have them transmit this right now because we might as well have the science available to us. And in order to do this on the moon, which is the entire goal, that's our next goal, by the way, is we're going to be doing the same thing on the moon. And in order to do that, though, I'm going to need some more information on the moon. I'm going to need biome information so we know where to land. And unfortunately, the only scanner that's in orbit right now that has biome capabilities as far as scanning is this one right here, the Minmus Science 1 probe. So let's go ahead and switch to that. Ah, yes, the little Minmus Science 1 probe. We're going to end up renaming this. This is going to be our biome scanner. So I'm going to rename this to, let's say, Kerbin SOI multi-scanner. Yeah, let's just leave it like that. That's fine. Now, from here, this probe needs to have its orbit changed so that it can rendezvous with the moon. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to wherever its ascending node is, and in order to know that, I need to... I'm not going to set this as a target. I'm kind of thinking I can just sort of eyeball it and be right about there. And we need to change the inclination. Now, which direction is this headed? Ooh, a little bit of time acceleration, and it's headed that way. So it's going to be on its way up. And actually, I can probably correct its orbit. It doesn't matter. I need to leave on this side of the planet anyway. And, no, this might be worth it. Let's try it. So if I correct the orbit here. Oh, not quite. Almost. So I'm just going to kind of line these lines up so that they're kind of, fluid to where my eyes can't see them both. And then I'm going to click the line right there. That's where I'm going to make my burn. I'm heading down this direction. I want to orbit the proper way, which means I need to go that way. So we'll just kind of... I did it wrong way. Of course I did. Pull it this way. And I'm going to actually burn a little retrograde and a little out at the same time. This is not the most efficient way to do it, but I've got tons and tons of fuel on this little thing, if you remember. So we're going to get our orbit kind of corrected. There we go. Not bad. Yeah, that's pretty good. So then I'm going to take this orbit. Let's go ahead and put that into the flight computer. We'll make that burn. And that burn is going to be 106 meters per second of delta V. It's a 41-second burn. So let's go ahead and time accelerate that. Now the goal here is to take this biome scanner that's been scanning Minmus this whole time and bring it to the moon so that I can get biome information for the moon. That's pretty much what needs to happen. Now I could launch another scanner, but why use another one when I already have a perfectly working one that has enough fuel and perfectly capable craft that can go and do it already? There's no sense in wasting the money there. And I'm not going to get any more biome information from Minmus. We've got all of it already. If we take a look at the scan set mapping, turn it to biome, you can see the biome map is done, 100%. So there's nothing else we can get for this scanner on Minmus, which is why we're going to move it to the moon. So now that that's done, that burn's complete, we can go ahead and burn probably on this side, like in 8 more minutes. We'll burn on the kerbin side here. And all we're going to do is just burn prograde until our orbit comes into the sphere of influence of the moon. Oh, there we go. Bring it back. And whoop. Moon periapsis 92,000 meters. Pretty close. How do we come in? Is it a polar orbit? You know, it's not quite polar, but we can change. We can do all sorts of stuff with that. So I'm going to go ahead and execute that burn. That's 71 meters per second of delta V. Getting to the moon from Minmus is very easy and very cheap. Getting to Minmus from the moon, not so much, but it's still, I mean, it's still cheaper than going from kerbin to Minmus, but it's, or it can be more expensive. I guess it really kind of depends on how they're lined up. But for Minmus to the moon, it's a pretty easy thing to do. So, time accelerate. I'm also going to stop the scanning here. Once the time acceleration ends. Okay. Now I can do a couple of things here. I can stop the scanner and stop the scanner. And then when them both stopped, do I have the battery charged to do it? You know, I bet I don't have the battery life to do both of these right now, but I bet I do once I start making this burn. So here's what I'm going to do. Speed up time, start the burn. There we go. So now the engine's running. That's going to help with charging the battery. I'm going to go to Analyze Data, and this is worth science. So we can go ahead and transmit that. Oh man. No, it's not enough. Darn. I thought it might be. Okay, so to transmit that data, we're going to have to use the time acceleration sort of glitch, if you will. There's a time acceleration trick. Essentially what happens is the transmission is not accelerated by time acceleration. Transmission does not speed up. It stays the same with time acceleration. It's immune to it, if you will. But electric charge generation does speed up with time acceleration. So if I'm currently generating electricity, I will generate electricity much faster proportionately to the time I'm accelerating, while the consumption of the resources for transmitting does not change. That's one way around it. So if I accelerate time now, you'll notice my electric charge goes up. Then I can take and I'll kill time acceleration right now. Okay, we'll try to scan this again, or we'll try to do this again. Analyze the data. And then I'm gonna hit this and then activate time acceleration again, and watch this. Now I'm not running the engine now, it's purely off the solar panels. Speed it up a little bit. There we go. So it's a kind of a way to game the system a little bit. Admittedly, it's kind of cheating, but it works, so I'm going to use it. Analyze this data as well. We'll send that. Speed up time. There we go. So we got all that data sent. We have all that science. It's pretty nice. We'll turn the lights on because it's awesome. Okay, so this craft is currently on an escape trajectory from Minmus, and it's going to rendezvous with the moon all the way over here, which is kind of nifty, I think. And so let's time accelerate and get this thing going so that I can put this into Kerbal Alarm Clock a little easier. Okay, so we are now on a path to the moon. I'm gonna put an alarm that says sphere of influence change, and now I will get notified when we are going to change sphere of influence to the moon, and that is in 12 days and 4 hours and 43 minutes. Okay, so that's going to allow us to get the biome scanner to the moon, but that does not solve our resources or ores or substrates, whatever, on the surface of Minmus. That doesn't solve that problem. So that's what we're going to launch in this episode. But we have a lot bigger thing to launch in this episode as well. Let's go back to the Space Center and check it out. Welcome to the VAB. This is the bottom part of Moon Science 1. And you'll notice there's going to be a lot of changes between this launch and the last launch. And the main reason behind that is because landing on the moon and all that stuff is way different than landing on Minmus. It takes a considerable amount of additional considerations, let's put it that way. We are going to take these parachutes off because the stage is not coming back to Kerbin. So we have 6 twin bores, which means 12 engines, but this is a single part, so it's nice. These are pretty damn powerful and actually quite efficient for what they do, so I like them a lot. In the middle, we are not doing our quad KW Wildcat configuration this time. We are now upgraded to the Maverick V because we got very heavy rocketry. So we have much bigger engines and much better engines now. That's where we get all this stuff. As we move up, we have what we had before anyway, these nice little awesome KW rocketry ST-25s. Pretty cool. And inside them, kind of nestled in here, we have some additional pressurized tanks for some fuel. So additional fuel to go with these because I want them to burn just a little while longer. We also have these awesome large aerodynamic radial decouplers that are awesome for getting our stuff away from our craft or getting the stuff away from the craft, as you will see when we decouple it. We have some parachutes on the insides of these in hopes to recover them, because if you'll notice the cost of this craft, and I haven't shown you the top yet, that's on purpose, don't worry, we'll get there. It's $423,000 for this craft, okay? So it's a really, really expensive launch. It's almost half my money. So I'm gonna wanna recover as much as I can, and that's what these parachutes are for. It's to hopefully recover these 6 parts of these stages. Because if I was to remove this whole section, well, if I grab this anyway, you'll see. If I grab this, you'll see the cost of the vessel now. It's $211,000. So this is a significant part of our cost right here. And I would like to recover that as much as possible, which is why we're doing that, hopefully. Then in the middle, we have 4 of these NERV atomic engines. These are the nuclear engines I've been talking about and been wanting to get. We have access to them now, so our 4-way configuration is now with the NERV Vs, or the NERV LVNs, sorry. So there you go. That's what we're gonna do. But what are these pushing, Charlie? What are these atomic engines pushing? Okay. Well, the atomic engines, for those of you who haven't played Kerbal Space Program before, the nuclear engines do not require oxidizer. So this entire tank is nothing but a big tank of liquid fuel. That's it. They don't need oxidizer, which is great. As we come up, you will see our new science facility. Yep. Now the science facility, I realize the first thing that a lot of people probably are looking at is, okay, he's got gas tanks blocking the doors. Yep, I absolutely do have gas tanks blocking the doors. Don't worry, they will be decoupled when we land. They will not block us for long. But for now, they are kind of blocking. I know, I admit, they are. This landing on the moon is going to be much harder than landing on Minmus, and as a result, we're going to need some additional firepower. We're going to need to make sure we have enough fuel resources. And as a result, instead of just relying on 4 little tiny monopropellant engines that really were a terrible idea to begin with, and it caused a lot of problems for us, rather than doing that, we're going to strap some good old-fashioned Oscar B, or that's not really good old-fashioned, but good old-fashioned LFO tanks here onto the mix. We're going to put some thuds, and we are going to descend onto the moon with this stage, which has about 350 meters per second of delta V. The idea, hopefully, is that this stage will last us long enough to kill all of our lateral velocity. We can decouple it completely, and this stage will decrease our vertical velocity for landing. We also have some landing legs right here And as you'll notice, we also have one less. We have half the life support supply as well, because I don't plan on being on Moon for very much. I don't think anyway. So I'm going to give these guys like 2 years worth of science to do, and then we're going to take off. So I don't think I'm going to need 4 years of life support for these guys, but we will see. We have these hydraulic cylinders, which are going to be kind of nifty, but right nestled within them are the landing legs. So little tiny landing legs, not a whole lot. Landing on a slope on the Moon is a bit of a challenge, and it's probably much more difficult than Minmus is, mostly because the gravity is increased. There's a lot more gravity there. You're not going to be able to just rock ourselves back upright if we tip over. So to prevent ourselves from tipping over, or at least to help me from tipping over, we've got robotics. Yeah. And inside the robotics, we've got these pillars that will come on out, and they will just kind of sit there like that. And the idea here is if we land on a slope for whatever reason, the craft might tip a little bit, but these will stop it from tipping too far. So that's the idea. We're gonna see how well that works. I'm not sure how well that works, but they're kind of nestled with the landing legs. I know it's kind of glitchy, a little bit gamey. If I wanted to do it differently, I might be able to put the landing legs on top of the hydraulic cylinder. I guess I never really thought of that. Does it even work, I wonder? I don't even know. Let's see, 4-way symmetry. It doesn't want to. I get the landing legs, it automatically picks up the cylinder too. Yeah. It doesn't want me to do that. So I would like to. I would, but it doesn't let me. So anyway, let's make sure these are still, yeah, those are still good. Okay. So the next thing, actually, let's move this up just a tad. Just a little bit. Just move it up like that. Okay. So the next thing, as we move up, of course we got the lights and all sorts of stuff like that too. As we move up, we have the standard cupola module we had before, and this little thing that's going to open up like that. Of course, it'll do that once these are gone, and they'll have the open area like we did before. We have much bigger solar panels now, which we're going to utilize for solar energy. Not that I need to, it's just that I'm at the limit with my parts right now. So I need a way to get solar energy without using a whole bunch of parts. So rather than using 6, or in the case of the Minmus one, 12, instead of using a bunch of those little tiny solar panels, we're just going to use 2 big ones. So there you go. 2 big panels, that's going to cover us pretty well. And I think it looks nicer too, especially when we're flying around. Okay, so here's the cream of the crop, or here's the cool part. 4 nerve engines again. These are nuclear engines again. And here is our hopper. Okay, now I originally wanted to use the lithobrake command pod, and actually recorded footage of me with this vessel messing with it with the lithobrake command pod, but I decided at the last minute, after flight testing it, I haven't actually flown this with this command pod. I imagine it's going to be a little bit different because it weighs a lot less, but I think it's probably going to be fair enough. I can probably just fly it without testing it with this command pod probably. The original lithobrake command pod is 5.16 tons, and it holds 4 kerbals. This one is 1.86 tons, and it holds 2 kerbals. So a lot lighter, but it also holds less. So the idea here is to give this hopping stage as much delta V as possible, because the Moon has 15 biomes and it's much larger, and I'm gonna have to go further and greater distances to cover it when I'm hopping around. So I need to be able to accommodate that, which is why we're using the nuclear engines. So I get the best bang for my buck in terms of hopping around on the Moon. But we need landing legs on the Moon. You need them. And there's no landing legs long enough to accommodate, like I can't just mount the legs up here and have it reach down past the engines. It just doesn't work. So I had to create my own landing legs, and that's what these things are. I put them on top of these tanks, which are kind of nifty, extra little propellant tanks. The nose cones also, these little domes, also have liquid fuel in them. Very cool, not wasted space there. They're actually doing something. And these landing legs will come down like this and they'll stop right about like there-ish. And that's our landing platform. So we're gonna be hopping around with this. And the really cool part about this is that the crash tolerance for the parts anyway, the crash tolerance for these parts here, these structural elements, is actually greater than the landing legs themselves. So if for whatever reason we do come down a little bit too hard, just a tad bit too hard, and these legs break, we can still land on these. They're still strong enough to take us without the landing gear and stuff. So it's gonna be pretty cool, I think. This will work great. Of course, we've got 8 hard drives. I'm hoping that's enough. It may not be. We have got our standard experiments, all that stuff here, the magnetometer, the mystery goo. We've got, where is it? Oh, this little, this RPWS antenna is still up here too. And on the legs, because these are surface experiments and we're not really getting very close to the surface, I actually had to put the ChemCam and the ablation laser light imager right here on the landing legs. So they'll be near the surface, which is nice, I think. We also have the 8-meter deployable ladder. It's a really, really long ladder, and it doesn't quite go to the ground, but it's close enough. It'll do. Now, one thing I will say about this craft is that it is, well, aside from being much more expensive, I think it's probably a little bit easier to drive, a little bit easier to fly. I don't know why. It flies pretty steady when you're going up there. It's pretty nice. So you'll see that. It's not going to be that difficult. We do have more solar panels on our hopper. Obviously, we need to keep electricity. But these ones are the retractable ones, so I can actually extend them out and bring them back in later, which is going to be very useful. So I don't, tip over and ruin them. And for tipping over, I'm not really worried about it because these legs, I can move them. Regardless of the orientation I'm in, I can move them. So if I start to get to the point where I'm tipping over, I might be able to just push myself back up, Or like if I'm over on this side, for example, if I'm over like on this, if I tip over this way, I might be able to just sort of I think it's these two, yep. I might be able to just take these 2 legs and just kind of push myself around to tip myself back up. That's the hope anyway. This does use a good amount of electric power, but that's why we have the solar panels, so it should be okay. We've also got some additional battery packs here on the side and the obligatory Science Junior. We don't have a need for KIS or anything like that. In fact, this mission's not even bringing an engineer, so you won't have a need for KIS or anything. So we're just going to bring the Science Junior. It saves us a lot of money there too. All right, standard life support supplies, and then this top payload here is the resource scanner that we're going to be launching up to the Minmus. So this whole craft is going to the moon, but this is going to detach in low Kerbin orbit and head on out to Minmus to scan the surface. So pretty cool. That's the plan. I think it's going to be great, and I think we're going to launch it right now. Okay, guys, welcome to the launch pad. Actually, the first thing I'm noticing here, and like I said, I haven't test flown this with this command pod yet. It was always with the litho brake. I've done about 3 test flights while I was building. First thing I'm noticing though is that the north indicator on the nav ball is actually up here rather than being down here like it used to be. And I think that's because this part, if I can focus on it, right there we go, thank you camera. This part, when building, has the door on the opposite side, and I had to rotate it to get it here. And I think because of that, this nav ball is now backwards. We're facing a different direction. I'm not sure why the person who created this is from Ben's stock revamp, by the way, this command pod is. I'm not sure why they decided to have the door on the opposite side. I think that's kind of strange, but okay, no problem. So what I'm gonna do to remedy this, I think, is I'm gonna actually control this vessel from here. I'll control it from this control hatch instead. So we'll hit control from here, and what do you know, the nav ball is fixed. So we've got 2 control hatches, I might as well use them like that. Okay, we've got Kerbal Engineer here. Again, there's no engineer on this vessel. I have the part installed on this though. Our crew for today And I'm not sure why. This is weird. Bob is not showing up. Maybe it's because of that command pod again. I don't know. Our crew for today is Valentina as our pilot, and then the rest of these guys are scientists. We've got Bob. We've got Isacine. I don't know how to say that. I probably butchered that name. We've got Jedgel or Jedgel. Jedgel. Yeah, Kerman. And we have Jebdos, our resident our Minmus hero. He's decided he would like to go to the moon as well. So great. We have we have 2 rookies. We've got 2 experienced scientists, and we've got Valentina, who needs to get her 2nd star as well. So here we go. SAS on. Thrusters all the way up. We do not have solid rocket boosters this time. So let's begin. Up we go. And the frame rate is decent for the number of parts. It's not really changed all that much from having about 160 parts to having 254 parts. Or 251 parts, I think is what this is. But still, it's a lot of parts. It's almost maxing out our VAB. Now you may notice our Kerbal alarm clock here has some new entries in it. It's not just the probe maneuver and the new multi-scanner alarm that I put in this episode. It's actually a kerbin to Duna transfer window and a kerbin to Eve transfer window, which is pretty nice. So we have a perfect transfer window, the best possible time or the ideal conditions for traveling to Duna will happen in 129 days, which is before our first maneuver for our interplanetary probe. So we'll be going to Duna fairly shortly here. Okay, we are a little bit off course here, trying to correct our ascent here. It is flying a little bit different. It's a little bit squirrelier. I think the weight difference at the front of the vessel has pushed my center of mass down a little bit more than I wanted, and I think it's a little bit squirrely because of that. But hopefully, once we get rid of these big boosters here, that will sort of remedy itself a bit more. Hopefully. We will see. Oh man, I can't. It's tipping. I can't correct it. Oh, man, it really fighting me. Really fighting me now. There we go. We got her under control now, right? Come on. Atmosphere's getting thin. We should have this under wraps now. Yeah, I think the difference in this was a fairly easy flight before. I'm thinking that different command pod being lighter makes my front end just a little bit more pushy, if you will, or a little bit weaker, I guess, for the push. Getting some heat now. Atmospheric forces as we ascend. Max Q, I guess, although I think we would have pushed past that long ago. Maybe not. I guess this is pressure, so. But it's not that much heat. Okay, let's go ahead and shut the engines off. We'll get ourselves coasting upwards here, towards the edge of the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And we're fairly on course. We're pretty much on the equator. Should be all right. We don't have a whole lot of a control authority over this craft though when the engines are not on. So if I want to correct, it's like, say it's dipping a little bit too fast for me, for instance, like it is right now. If I want to correct that, I do have to turn the engines on in order to do that. If I'm going to turn the engines on, I might as well accelerate. Okay, call that good. Let's go ahead and time accelerate to the top of the atmosphere. We are rotating a bit. Wow, it just did not want to kill the time acceleration, did it? It didn't want to stop. Oh, come on. Get her corrected. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna tell Jeb to, or sorry, Valentina. I'm gonna tell her to point to prograde. And I'm going to turn the RCS thrusters on just to make sure she can do her job. There's not a whole lot of RCS thrusters on this vessel. They're all located up here at the top, so not a whole lot of control authority there, but it's all right. And we're going to extend these panels to make sure we don't run out of electricity. Even though I don't think that's going to be much of a problem anyway. Okay, so we're moving our way up here. Come on, Val. Come on, Val. Get it up there. Get your nose up. There we go. Let's go ahead and punch it. Let's get our speed up here. Push ourselves into orbit a bit. Or get ourselves progressing further towards orbit anyway. Oh yeah. This monstrosity. Get rid of the fairing. We don't need that. Don't know why I didn't do that before. A little extra weight. We also have some heat problems happening here, it looks like. Not sure why, but get away from our ship. I love those decouplers. They're so cool. Look at them go. That's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, now we just need to reach orbital velocity, which we have more than enough delta V in this stage to do. So, should be fine. Actually, I really see no reason not to put these panels out too. So let's just extend all of our solar panels. Oh yeah, there we go. And before I forget to do it, I'm gonna want to get the antenna that's on this, wherever it is. I really don't know where it is. Actually, I'm gonna shut the engine off. We're still going up, and I'd rather not burn this when we're going up now at this point. Here it is. This antenna. Let's activate that. Before I forget, gotta do that. I'm gonna activate this one too, just in case we want to transmit some data later after we decouple. So, do that. Okay, we're gonna float up now to our apoapsis, which is currently 88.9 kilometers. So very close now. Very close. Autosave, putting some lag in. And I think it's probably good to punch it now. So let's do it. So now we have the maximum possible effect on our periapsis. And we're gonna start using the gravity of the planet to help accelerate us further. We'll get a little bit better bang for our buck for the fuel this way. Just a little bit. Take a look at our orbit. He's looking good. Valentina. I'm gonna lose it there, I'm telling you. Valentina is keeping us pointed prograde. We are slightly inclined. Ever so slightly inclined. I'm gonna bring ourselves a little bit closer to the north. Just a little bit north more. Hopes to bring that orbit up a little bit. That's probably not going to work actually because I'm not on the. Yeah, we're not gonna deal with that. It's fine. Okay, still increasing our velocity. Periapsis is over here, and here it comes. 45, 50, 57, 59. Let's cut the engine. I'm going to tilt us a little bit outward. I don't want the... our apoapsis is kind of high. I don't really want it there, but whatever. Tilt ourselves a little bit more this way. And let's fire again. I want to get my periapsis up. And I think that's going to be fine. We'll enter the atmosphere for a short time. That's okay. Ooh, no it's not, because these solar panels are out now. That's no good. Alright, let's try this. Let's retract these. Retract all. All the ones that can retract will retract. Then I'm going to control it from here. control from here. Thank you. And we're going to detach this. Okay, so now I have control of this probe. Activate this engine. Get ourselves a little distance. And then we're going to get ourselves out of this mess with this thing. So this thing should bring our apoapsis up and our periapsis up, and we're good. Okay. So now this little guy is safe from the atmosphere, which is what I wanted. This one is not safe from the atmosphere. Not yet anyway. We're going to enter the atmosphere any minute. And that's okay. I'm all right with that. Because pretty much, I mean, we're not going that deep. And our apoapsis is up way too high anyway. So, okay, and we are back in space. Piece o' cake. We are slightly inclined. I don't like that, but I don't think it will be too big of an issue. So let's set up our maneuver. We are wanting to go to the moon. That's here. So our burn actually should probably happen right about here. Not the best place to burn, honestly. It's kind of near the apoapsis, but it is what it is. Let's go this way. All right, there is our approach. 601's not very good, but I can definitely do 258. So that's our burn right there. It's going to be 856 delta V, 856 meters per second, I should say. Let's point towards the node, and we'll execute that burn. Yep, there we go. Now, in order to point towards that node, we're going to have to, like, you know, really bust our balls here. I'm going to bring out the smart ass as well. Flight computer has this command in. I'm going to tell it to point to the node. I'm hoping this is capable of doing such a thing. When I was considering the maneuverability of this craft, I was not considering this giant tank back here being on it still. So this is actually lasting a tad bit longer than I expected. So this is our get us into orbit around Kerbin tank, or finalize our orbit around Kerbin tank, and also any inclination changes that may need to be made. So this is intended to be our transfer stage here, which is going to throw off our burn times considerably. I'm imagining this being a much longer burn than the 83 seconds this is claiming it will be. This is calculating our burn based on the current stage. And the current stage has only 136 meters per second of delta V. This stage here has 1,286. So a lot more. In fact, this actually needs to be ejected. Not this. Not this. Let's just do this custom here. Where is that decoupler? I need to get rid of this weight. Just extra weight. No need to have it. Goodbye. Boom. Shoot it off towards the planet. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now, while we're up here, we can actually do some science. So, let's do some science. Let's just hit this command pod and say all science. Okay. And we've got, looks like we've got mystery goo. Let's put all the stuff inside our science bay. Yep, all of it's going inside the mobile processing lab here. We've also got a couple experiments that do not respond to the all science command. And that is this radio plasma wave data and the magnetometer also does not. The D-Magic orbital sciences ones don't. Just the stock experiments will respond to it. And that's also true for universal storage, actually. When I clicked do all science, the universal storage science experiments don't automatically go either. So, okay, so we've got those two sciences done. Probably should go out and reset the experiments. Let's grab Bob. Now I have to grab Bob and do everything that's in orbit because the other three scientists are, well, I guess one isn't. The one that's in the Coppola module can get out, but the other two scientists that are in here are trapped in here, so they cannot get out. Yeah. Let's go ahead and go up and restore that. And actually I'm going to observe it again. Nope. I want to observe. There we go. I'm going to take the data, collect it, and restore the experiments. Then we're going to come back down. Let's just do the ladder. I don't want to deal with EVA if I don't have to. Or deal with the jetpack if I don't have to. Let's restore that. And observe the mystery goo. There we go. Let's keep that experiment, collect the data, and restore the experiment. Okay, bring it back up. Also going to grab an EVA report while we're out here. There we go. And let's get back in the ship. There we go. And the lights are on. Now this EVA report that I just grabbed can be put in the lab as well. So let's... frame rates. Frame rates. Review stored data. Here we go. This is the EVA report. Let's grab that and throw that in there. We're going to keep that, and we're going to keep that in the pod. Then we're going to get Bob again, really quick. Get another EVA report. Yep, get back in the ship. And from there, we will transmit it instead. That's going to give us the science. Oh yeah. I'm actually running a little low on battery, am I not? Well, I'm getting lower, but I do have a lot of battery power on this, so. But all the same, I think it's probably appropriate to get the panels out. So let's extend all panels. There we go. We won't be running out of power now. 3 minutes until the burn. I'm actually going to accelerate that. We're gonna burn like... I'm gonna have to initiate this manually, I think. So I'm gonna grab MechJab and tell MechJab to keep pointed at the node. So I'm gonna have MechJab do everything here. Get rid of this. Get rid of flight computer. And yep, that gets rid of the alarm too. Okay, good. So MechJab's gonna keep us pointed at the node. 856.9 meters per second of delta V. And only 136 of it will be this tank. Everything else is going to have to be the nuclear engines. It's going to take a lot longer to burn that. Probably, I don't know, maybe 3.5 minutes, maybe. So, yeah, I will probably end this episode in the middle of this burn, most likely. I don't know, we'll see. Because it's kind of getting a little long, and really it's just a long burn. That's all you have. I do also need to get the resource scanner for Minmus to transfer, but that's pretty easy. Just correct the inclination, correct the inclination like we did before, and get it on its way. Pretty much. I'm actually debating going around the planet a second time with this because of how inefficient this burn will probably be. The duration of the burn. If I go around the planet again, it might be better. Don't know. I'm considering starting this burn though, for sure. 3 minutes. It's not going to take 6 minutes to burn though, so let's time accelerate really quick. Okay. You know, I think now is probably an appropriate time. I'm debating. I'm thinking it probably is. We're pointed towards the node anyway, so yeah, let's do it. Turn it up, and let's burn this. And to get rid of this stage. See how long it takes for these nuclear engines to do it. Okay, get rid of this. Get rid of those engines. And let's turn them about halfway just really quick, just to kind of get away from the debris. Yep, alright, and punch it. Oh my gosh, it's a 6-minute burn. Oh yeah, this is not an efficient burn here. Okay, not efficient. At least the timing of the burn is not good. So, you see the nice little paint color from the nuclear engines is pretty good. These shrouds also are not leaving. I'm hoping that's just, I don't want to say it's a bug, but I'm hoping that if I reload the craft, that won't be there. I don't know if I should stop this burn. I think I'm gonna stop this burn when I get to like maybe here. I think I'll stop it, and then I'll go around the planet one more time, and I'll burn the second half again, because otherwise it becomes really inefficient. And I'd like to save some fuel. I may actually not have enough fuel, or not have as much as I'd like to have anyway. If I end up with like 300 meters per second in this tank, I don't know if that's enough. I'm gonna say it's probably not enough. I think I'm gonna need like 700. So what's most likely going to happen is I'm either gonna need to transfer fuel from my hopper stage into this to get us safely to the moon's surface, or, which is what I did in Minmus, or I'm gonna have to do a refueling mission. And I'm kind of at this point leaning towards refueling mission because the moon has a lot of biomes and a lot of space to cover, and I want that fuel. I really, really want that fuel. Take a look at the orbit. It's working its way out, but it's not very efficient. I'm thinking I can get better efficiency, guys, if I quit the burn and do it again. This is the periapsis now. Periapsis is actually moving. It's moving up, which is not good. So I'm actually gonna kill this, I think, now. Yep, I'm gonna kill this burn now. Delete the node. Tell this to kill the rotation, because we're gonna have to face pretty much the same direction again. And then I'll set up another node for the next pass. So let's set one up like right about here. And then, I don't want that. I want prograde out towards the moon. 12,000 meters will do nicely. It's gonna take 495 meters per second of delta V. I think that's pretty much the same, honestly. I don't think I saved any fuel here. Yeah, I didn't really save any fuel. Well, whatever. We'll burn that one. Okay, 1 hour until we execute this burn. Let's switch over to the probe that we put out, which is right here, Moon 1 Science probe. Hopefully it doesn't hit that debris. Switch to that. Okay, here it is. We've got some debris up ahead. I don't think we'll collide with it, but I honestly, I really don't know if we will or not. I do know that we need to make a maneuver here to get to Minmus with this craft. So the first step for this one is going to be correcting inclination, most likely. So we'll set this as our target. And looks like right about here. Oh wow, it's coming up like right now. So add a maneuver. This is the ascending node. We need to go down. Come on. Good. Execute the burn. It's gonna face the node. Awesome. Got it in just in time. 207 meters per second on this stage. It's a 104-second burn. And flight computer will take that and use it really, really well, actually. Did a pretty good job here. And away we go. Once again, the Ant engine is not showing me the flame. We see the light from the engine because of engine light, the engine light mod. So the engine light is emitting light, and that's why we have this sort of flickering yellowish, orangish tone. Sort of like we're sitting in a campfire. You can kind of see the flickering. But no flame off the bat. Don't know why. Ant engine doesn't show it to me. Terrier was doing the same thing to me once, but it doesn't usually do it. It's where the ant seems to burn. We seem to see the flame the very first time we burn it, and then every other time you turn this on after the first time, we don't see it anymore. So that inclination change will get us set up to go to Minmus, and then we'll be rocking. We've got multiple things happening here. This is how I like to play. I don't know if it's best for videos because there's like so much going on. Not really sure about that one, but I like to play with like everything happening at the same time. I like to take as little calendar days, if you will, in the game as possible. Right now we're at year 1, day 101. And I like to play with as little calendar days as possible, which means doing everything, without a whole lot of a time acceleration. Like I'm going to take and transfer to Minmus. It takes 8 days or so to get there. I'm not going to time accelerate 8 days to get out there. I'm going to do other things during those 8 days. I think that's the best way to do it personally, but that's just me. That's how a normal space program would do it, I think. They got to keep busy. SpaceX is not waiting around to launch their next satellite. Just because, the other satellite, stop burning. Flight computer kept going. Okay, so we should be good here. I don't see why we don't have this selected as a target anymore. There we go. Yep, we're pretty much good. So let's get ourselves burning towards Minmus now. Should be right about here-ish. Probably not here, but I'll adjust it. I think I'm too far forward here. Nope, actually we did get an encounter. There we go. We're getting an encounter. It's pretty far away. This one's better. 54,000 meters. That's better. Go just a little bit further in. 102,000, not bad. I would like... You know what? Actually, I think I'm going to go closer just because. I need to be within like 300,000 meters. But, oh man, you're just so touchy. That's good enough. Let's make that burn, which is in 7 minutes. Okay. I am going to rename this vessel. We're going to rename this to Kerbin SOI, Sphere of Influence, Resource Scanner. And that's all there is. So this burn will go on for almost 6 minutes. A few seconds shy of 6 minutes this burn will take. So I will just go ahead and cut the video, I guess. I'm not going to make you watch this for 6 minutes. So we will come back when this is done, I guess. And it was about that time when my family walked into the house and I wasn't able to continue recording my voice in the moment. But basically this little probe finishes its burn in a little over 6 minutes actually. And yeah, we end up getting a rendezvous with our target, and then the flight computer does tend to overshoot that just a little bit. But yeah, anyway, once I correct it and I get it into a good rendezvous with that, I will switch over to my other craft. And from there, it's all a matter of getting the right science and getting all the science that I can get from high orbit or above Kerbin and getting it into the mobile processing lab so that we can generate science and we can generate that on the way to the moon. Because really, you don't need to be parked on the surface of the planet to get the science. You can just get it on the way if you turn the mobile processing lab and have them research all the time. So that's what I've got this going. I've got this kind of messing with things. And for whatever reason, when I have the flight computer and I tell the flight computer to point towards a maneuver, it will do it until I EVA. And then for some reason, it decides not to stay pointed at the maneuver. So every time I EVA in a ship with the flight computer pointing towards a certain direction, and MechJeb as well, it just doesn't do it. It just starts to rotate itself. I don't understand that. But anyway, we get ourselves orbiting around Kerbin. We have our maneuver node set and we're ready to start and burn our engines. So with a quick time acceleration, with lights, of course, blasting on Kerbin because of that wonderful time acceleration bug, we have the beautiful pink plume of nuclear power, which is not that much power. Actually, it's 60 kilonewtons of thrust times the 4 engines. So just a puny little 240 kilonewtons of thrust, pushing this entire ship for a long burn that ultimately led to me wasting more fuel than I needed to. It cost me about 20 meters per second more delta V than it needed to. But anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Next episode is going to be pretty much kind of a montage of a whole bunch of stuff I've been working on. So we will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.